Welcome, everyone, to another conversation about the summer of self love. I'm so excited you're here. I am Erica Voell, and I'm a decision mentor and inner trust guide, and I write the Unfolding Substack, and I host the Unfolding Letters from the Middle of Becoming podcast. And I'm so glad to welcome you to today's conversation. In these conversations, we've been exploring women's relationships with themselves, their inner critic, and their relationship to self love, because we all know that this is a journey. This is not a we're not reaching our destination until we're dead, is what my therapist likes to say. So the summer of self-love is a continuation of women learning to trust themselves. We know our inner voice is just as important as our outer voice, and when we feel good inside and confident, it always affects how we express ourselves, and it ripples out into our relationships with others. And today I am joined by two of the amazing 12 that were part of the 12 women who I interviewed as part of the Summer of Self-Love series. Today, we are talking to Betsy Forsyth, who also writes as Betsy Forsyth on Substack, and Helena Marchetti, who writes her Inner Compass Substack. Welcome to you both. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you.
So I'm going to start with you, Helena. So tell
Okay.
us about you, what brought you to the series and to Substack.
The series, I've had a tumultuous self-love journey through my whole life. And when I saw that you were doing that, it was something that immediately sucked me in. I'm very new to Substack. I have spent a lot of time making pretty graphics and setting everything up, but I haven't actually posted anything yet because that's part of my self-love issue. I think I'm holding myself back. Um, I I'm enjoying it. It's like a nervous system kind of cleanse for me compared to all the other social media stuff that I used to be on. I don't even go there anymore. Um, yeah, I'm excited to kind of dive in more to Substack. I'm just getting to that point. It's taking me a minute.
Mm. Well, I'm so glad you're here. And
Thank you for
welcome,
having me.
Carrie and Elodie. If I've mispronounced your name, welcome to you both. So, Betsy, tell us about you and what brought you to Substack.
Let's see. I found Substack through Julie Ciardi with the Ignite program, and I know you're in there, and I'd actually been following you. And so when you asked if I wanted to join this conversation, I was like, oh, heck yeah. um, yeah, I just think it's something that we all struggle with. That it's a challenge for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I want to go back in time a little bit. So I want you to think about like what how your inner critic talked to you about 20 years ago, 20, 30 years ago. Think about your 20s, early 30s. And if you overheard that inner critic talking to a friend the way that your inner critic talked to you, I want to know what you would have thought. Like, because I know that so often we're like, we say, talk to yourself the way you would talk to a best friend. And, but so often we're not talking to ourselves that same way. So I want to know, like, what was your inner critic saying then, and what would, if you had overheard it, what would you have thought? I'm going to start with you, Betsy.
My inner critic 20 years ago would have definitely done a lot of beating myself up. You're not good enough. Uh, there was a lot of body image stuff going on at that point for sure. Not trusting my body, not feeling confident in it. Yeah, which is just a reflection of what was going on inside. So, just a lot of negative talk. And yeah, it would have sounded horrible for a friend, and I would never talk to a friend that way.
Mm. How about you, Helena?
20 years ago, I was still in pharmacy school, and there was a lot of, I'm not really smart enough for this, and I'm never going to learn everything, and I'll never pass the boards, and a lot of sort of doubt. Um, a lot of the self-image stuff was more in high school and middle school. In college, I was too stressed out with work to even really think about it. Um, if I heard my inner critic talking to a friend, I would think they were a total jerk. I would never speak to a friend or anyone like that, except myself, it seems. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, I know you're not alone, and if I heard my inner critic that still shows up today talking to my daughter the way it's been talking to me this summer, I would be like, "Are you kidding me?" Like, I would have gloves on ready to beat her up, but she's still talking in my head. Um, so tell us about how you both learned to talk to yourself that way. Like, were there women around you that talked to themselves the same way when you were growing up? Were there people
Hmm.
maybe or were there people who criticized you in ways that you started to internalize it? Helena, I'll start with you on this one.
Um, I wouldn't say that there were really people, no one in my family was critical. It was more peers, I would say. And I think I kind of absorbed a lot of it just from hearing everything that was being said. It wasn't a lot of specific stuff, but it was just enough to make me feel like I needed to be smaller, like quieter, thinner, all of the above.
Mhm. How about you, Betsy?
I think at home, I definitely, my mom and my dad were constantly talking about dieting. Yeah, it was very much like the thin culture, right? And I just feel there was a lot of judgment as well, where I think that that's played a big part in my life between I felt really judged by my mom. Um, I feel like I felt really judged by the people. I was raised in a church and there was a lot of judgment feeling there. Um, but more probably just from my mom, just, not trusting my decisions and not liking my decisions. And yeah, just the constant talk about them with weight and body image and stuff. As well as just, it was the 80s, it was like I was born in 74. And so it was,
Mhm.
everything was like thin culture then. So it's really hard to just like let all of that go. And yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's always very real and has played a part. Yeah, it's still that voice is there.
My mom still to this day will tell me, you know, "Oh, I'm eating this new food now because I read in this on this article about, that it helps with this." And I'm like, "I don't care about that anymore." Like, I know that every time I would go home in college, there was always a new prevention magazine article about to help me lose weight, that my mom was also trying to lose weight, as it was always a thing. And I think for so many of us, especially if we were born in the 70s, it was such a part of the culture. Like, there was a fad diet every 3 days. And, you know,
Totally.
I mean,
Totally. And
I had
my dad is still
yeah,
doing it too. Yeah. Yeah.
I had I'll never forget, I had a friend who did the cabbage soup diet, and I was
Oh,
like,
I remember that.
"What?" And
Yeah.
meanwhile, I'm sitting there with my Slim Fast. That was my lunch. And this was in the 90s, and I was like, "Oh my gosh." And now I told my daughter, um, something the other day, and she's like, "Oh, I told her what my mom used to say to me and my grandma, like to stand up straight and stop slouching because I don't want to look fat." And my daughter turned to me and she's like, "Mom, who would say that? Oh my gosh, that's so mean." And I was like, "When I was your age, I heard that all the
Yeah.
time."
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just I I think I hope that things are changing, but I also see that we're swinging back a little bit with the Ozempic and the diet drugs, and I'm like, "Oh, we're on this roller coaster that body image keeps coming back because we have these ideas of what the ideal woman should be." And
That's
I
the
think
piece, right? I know you have a daughter. I have a 14-year-old daughter also,
Mhm.
and she's just started dance team. And yeah, recently, she's heading into high school and more body stuff is coming up for her. And it's like, oh, I've worked so hard, like not to focus on that. And yeah, I know not everybody in her life has had that same focus and attention. And then there's, yeah, the whole world and society and Instagram and all the things that there's just messaging out there.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, I dread the day that my daughter wants to get a Instagram account. I'm like, let's hold off as long as possible.
Hold off as long as possible.
She'll probably be
How old is
looking
your
at
daughter?
Roblox. She's 12. Today is the first day of middle school. Mom's holding it together. Okay.
Nice.
And
Aw.
there's an eclipse today, so it's like a lot going on. So I would love to, oh, Helena, I want to hear what, like, how did we talk about this? Did I ask you this question? Like, how did you learn how to talk about this?
How
Did
to
I,
talk about,
how did
I
you
don't know.
learn?
You know what? I
Were there
have
women around
perimenopause
you?
brain. Oh, yes, you did ask me that.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. So I want to know I'll just tell you a little bit of my story and why this question, I'm asking this question. It's been about 8 years ago, there was a woman, a coach that I worked with. She was the very first coach I worked with. I was her student. It was her practice coaching. And so she saw something in me that I had not been able to see in myself. And it was this, she saw a light in me that I didn't know I had. And so I want to know if there was someone who saw you differently than you saw yourself, especially if you were in a really dark place. Like, and maybe like what changed for you and what was different than what you believed about yourself before, and what did they see in you, and how did that maybe flip something for you? Betsy, I'll start with you.
Um, there is a person that comes to mind. Do you just want to know about the situation or how it
I want to know
felt?
what came up for you. Like maybe they saw something in you, because it completely, for me, it completely changed. And I was like, wait, does she really know me? And maybe there's something there that I didn't know was there. As that's what really flipped a switch for me. So I want to know if there's
I
something that.
think for me, it wasn't a person, but it was an experience.
Mhm.
I was working in a different environment. I mean, I've always had kind of an alternative work situation. And I was working for an organization called the School of Lost Borders, and they do vision fasts. And I went out on a vision fast. So it was 8 days out camping in kind of out in the desert. Um, and just the conversations. There was a 24-hour fast in that. And the conversations that happened out there were the part that kind of awoke something in me that was like, oh, there's more, like there is something in there that's more than this image that I have.
Mm.
Just some wise, awesome guides that asked questions that brought awareness to me of that.
And so what changed for you internally?
Internally, I think it's like you're saying, like there was a little, it started as a spark of like a curiosity, and a striving to just have more awareness and be gentler with myself.
Mm. I love that. I love that. And what an experience to come back to when you're in a place where you're like, "Oh, I have this experience. I can come back to it when I need it." And
Yeah.
yeah. So Helena, how about you? Was there person or an experience that changed something that you didn't see in yourself?
I would say as it would be more of a person. My best friend Dana, we've been friends since first grade,
Mm.
and she has always been very positive and would always kind of see things in me that I couldn't see. And when we were younger, we used to have sleepovers just about every weekend. And I would lay on the floor next to her bed and she'd be on the bed. And I would tell her these stories. Like I would just make up random tales. They were kind of outrageous. And she always would tell me, "Oh, you should be a storyteller. You should be a storyteller." And she's the one who actually kind of kicked me into gear with writing and made me feel like, oh, maybe it is something that I can do. And she's always just been, if she hears me say anything negative, she's like, don't talk to my best friend like that. Like she gets very like
Oh.
defensive of me. Um, so yeah, having her has been just a blessing for sure.
And your story was so powerful in the profiles that I published about, and I think it came up in the shame article too, about how you were writing, and it was I mean, it's always that one comment or that one review we
Hmm.
get, and it's like that's all we hold on to. So
Yep.
I want you to talk about that experience because I think it's so
I
powerful.
I kind of ruminate on things. Like if it's a good experience, it somehow just kind of is out of my head. But if it's negative for whatever reason, it keeps taunting me. And I had written a book. I have a pen name, and most of the feedback was like overwhelmingly positive and made me feel amazing. And then I got one that was like, kind of not great, but that's the only one that registered for me. And I felt like a failure. And I was like, that's it. I'm done. Nobody wants to hear what I have to say. I don't know what I'm doing. Who was I to try and do this? And it was just amazing to me how, one negative voice out of all the positive was able to just derail me. And
Mhm.
it still happens. It still happens.
So did
Yeah.
it change your writing at all, or did it make you double down and you're like, "This person is not gonna stop me?"
I think over the past few years, I've been very much withdrawing into hermit mode.
Mm,
Um, and there was a piece of time where I wasn't writing at all. Like I was completely creative block, like no, nothing. I felt like dead inside. And I think it's, because I worked in a busy pharmacy and it was sucking the soul out of me every single day. And I just had nothing left to be creative. I was just trying to, get through each day and be there for my family. And so I haven't written, like actually sat down and written anything for fiction in probably like 2, 3 years at this point.
mm,
And like I want to now, which is a big change. Like it's recently I'm like, ooh, and I get these little sparks of excitement. And those were gone for like a long time. Like I just didn't care. I was like, whatever. But now they're coming back. So that's kind of a good thing for me. But I
mhm.
still need to act on it, which is where I'm a little bit kind of struggling with that. I need
Yeah,
the jump start.
and I see that you have a 6'2" profile, so that hermit side is very innate, and I
Oh
love
yeah.
it. I just looked at your designs, and Betsy has a 3 in her she's a 1-3, and you're a 6'2", so, like, you both have that trial and error, that experimentation part of you but in different parts of your design. So I love that hermit side is coming in, but also I hope it brings you out because you have the gifts that
I hope so.
and maybe it'll be something that will bring it out and you don't even realize that somebody else will notice it and bring it out in you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've just been very much like, I am content to be home with my family, my cats, and just not necessarily not interact, but I don't have the bandwidth for
Mhm.
a lot. I've found, like, especially this past year, I've kind of I took a leave of absence from work. Big part of it was perimenopause and brain fog and not being able to concentrate at work and checking a prescription and staring at it for 3 minutes and still not knowing what it says, and that really scared me, and I was afraid that I was going to make a mistake and hurt someone, so I stepped back from pharmacy, and now I'm kind of doing a whole reinvent thing because I'm not going to put myself in a position to injure someone because I wouldn't be able to live with myself if that happened. So it's been a very interesting few months since February, actually.
Mm.
um, yeah.
I find it so fascinating how perimenopause brings up so much, and like we want to push through, and
Yeah.
our body and our brain is like, slow down. And
Yeah.
our society is like, keep the pace, keep the pace. And you
Mm-hmm.
can't. So the next question I have for both of you is like, how have you started to see yourself differently, especially through the season of life you're in, um, from that really inner critical stage to a more, I don't want to a newer step, a nexter, that's not the right word, but it's not even a word, to like a next step that's like closer to this sense of appreciating who you are and that self-love. I'm going to start with you, Betsy.
Well, I mean, it's involved just doing that, like slowing down and trying to be more gentle. Like I said, like just, um, yeah, listening to my body more. I feel like I heard somebody explain it as being like a cake pop, where, like you live most of your life in your head and then you've got this just body that's like a stick that's kind of attached to it. Um, I heard that a couple years ago and I was like, oh my God, that's totally me. Like I spend so much time in my head and my body is just kind of like this vessel that's carrying my head, which is doing everything. So really trying to just be more embodied in the real sense of having awareness and being appreciative for my body because it is changing and it's crazy where you're like, oh wow, like these are new curves and these are new wrinkles and lines on my face. And it's really challenging, when
Mhm.
so much of life has been, yeah, trying to keep some image. And now it's like, well, it's, you go crazy. You would go crazy if you really tried to stick with that and not just be more accepting and be more loving and just being a little more patient and kind and gentle and slow and all those things. Um, so that's really that's the difference I see. And that's
Mhm.
what I feel like there just hasn't really been another option.
Yeah, and have you started to do any new practices or anything new that you're doing in this season?
I mean, it has been a lot of like, I used to ride my mountain bike almost every day, and it's, like I had a pain in my hip, and it's like, okay, well, let's slow down. Like maybe let's ride a couple days a week and let's do some stretching and, um, yeah, lots of nervous system stuff for me. Midlife, has my nervous system is not what it was. It's just not. Like I feel like maybe perimenopause brings out more of whatever you've always had kind of underlying. So
Mhm.
I hear women anger and I'm like, oh, I wonder if they've had a lot of, like kind of buried anger. For me, I run anxious and I've always run, I think, a little anxious, but man, my awareness of I don't know that it's anxiety, but just like tension is through the roof for the past 3 or 4 years. Um, I don't even know what the question was at this point. I'm like, um, yeah, perimenopause brain as well. So
Yeah.
Mhm.
So are you
yeah.
doing more nervous system practices,
Mhm.
and are you doing any like meditation or something or are you just writing
I
and
will dabble. I'll dabble on a little bit of everything. It
Mhm.
seems like I haven't found one thing in particular that I love. I definitely have some nervous system tools that I do a lot of breathing, different breathing exercises, really trying to breathe into my diaphragm, body scans, uh, yeah, things along that line that are just slowing and being more present.
Mhm. Isn't it fascinating how I think that so many of the women that are generations before us, either they just either ran on that cake pop mentality, or their nervous systems were so dysregulated that they just accepted that that's how it was. And maybe some of
I
it's
think
our
that's what it is.
society.
They just accepted, yeah, they just accepted that that's what it was. I'm a notary public as a very part-time thing as well. And I remember doing a signing with these two sisters who were trying to get their mom to, not trying, they were having their mom sign a power of attorney so they could help her with some stuff. And I brought up perimenopause and hormone replacement therapy, and they were like, "What?" They were our age, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, I totally have those things going on." Didn't have any awareness. And the mom was just like, "This all just happens, like hot flashes and all of it. You just have to buck up and deal and keep going." Like that was literally what she said. And I was like, "Oh man, like yeah, my mom did the same thing. I don't think they had any, it was just plug through. I don't think the medical system was helping them out a lot. Or maybe they were before the whole study, and maybe my mom was a little more aware than I knew, but
Mhm.
plugging through because that's what they had to do.
Yeah. My mom just said, "Well, they just put me on hormones and I just, it was no big deal." And I was like, "Are you kidding me?" Like,
Totally.
like I freaking lost my mind. My
Yeah.
daughter is like, "Mom, use your words." Because I can't remember, I can't finish a sentence. She's always telling me, "You can't finish a sentence. But use your words."
Oh,
I don't know what I'm saying. I don't know. I
right.
don't realize I drift off in the middle of a sentence. Yeah.
Yeah. I I don't know if it was different for them than it is for us, but if it was the same, then I'm kind of blown away.
Mhm. Yeah. Helena, how have you started to see yourself differently? And are there any new practices or things
Um,
you're doing in this stage of life?
well, first, I just wanted to comment on the whole menopause thing because I got that whole, well, you just need to deal with it kind of talk, and it's not easy to just deal with something when you feel like you're going crazy. You can't remember words, you forget what you're saying, you forget why you're in a room, you can't concentrate on anything. Like I can't even follow a TV show. Like I'm like, oh, what happened? And it's just that's not who I am. So for me, it was like I have to do something about it because I'm not going to suffer like this for, however many decades, that are left. I decided to go on hormone replacement, and it has made a little bit of a difference. I still have the brain fog. I'm still like space cadet-ish. But as far as the being kinder to myself thing, my body didn't really give me a choice. Like at the end of February, I kind of had this autoimmune stuff and perimenopause, and it was like I had ignored it for so long and just pushed through because I felt like I had no other option until it got to the point where like, nope, I was done, and I pretty much shut down. And now I am embracing, like, my health has become my top priority. Well, I mean, obviously my family's one, but for me, like, I need to be healthy. I have to focus on my physical and mental health, or I can't be anything to anyone else. And that's something I have never done. And that's a big change for me, like making all the appointments. I got my bone density scan. Like I'm doing all the things that I should be doing, and just making my health a priority. And that's a way of showing kindness to myself that I've, not saying I was unhealthy, but it wasn't, I just sort of ignored things for a long time.
Mhm. And are you, for both of you, are you finding that like there are old patterns that are showing up for you that maybe d- d- maybe that inner critic voice has started to resurface? When your body changes, sometimes it's like, for me, it came up as like, I look at myself in the mirror and I think, oh my gosh, those thoughts of like, do I look fat, were coming back. And I thought I shut the door on this, but we know that like the more you shut the door on the inner critic, the more she's going to just keep knocking until she just bursts through the door. So were there patterns for both of you that like started to resurface, um, maybe around self-love, that have come up in perimenopause? Helena, I'll start with you.
I think the I'm not smart enough thoughts from my past have definitely resurfaced. Because even attempting to do any kind of new endeavor, I'm like, I don't know if I have what it takes. And those habits are definitely, they're coming back. I also like lost a bunch of hair and everything's like, it's frustrating.
It's a thing. It's a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I see pictures and I'm like, oh, I used to have nice hair that was like long and thick. And now I'm like, okay. Um, and I think another part of my daughter is 13. She's in middle school and I have an 11-year-old son. And I feel like I'm going through middle school again. Like they tell me things and I'm just like, "Ugh." Like it just
Mhm.
the combination of their experience and perimenopause. And I feel like I'm like this, like ball of nerves. Like I've always been anxious as well. And it is the anxiety, the rage, random rage over nothing,
Yeah.
just like dumb things, like my poor husband. Poor husband. It's been interesting. I forgot what the question was at this point too, but I'm just rambling.
The question, I'm going to repeat it for you for Betsy in case you've also forgotten it. So what are some patterns around self-love that you found yourself that are coming up again for you during perimenopause? And one part I forgot to ask Helena is like, what is there something you're saying that's, I'm not doing this anymore? So Helena, if you want to continue that part and then I'll add, and then
Doing this anymore.
or we can
I
come back.
think putting myself last, I'm not doing that
Mhm.
anymore. That's sort of the one new self-love thing. I'm done with being bottom of the barrel, like because it didn't serve anyone at all
Mhm.
when I was like that.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Betsy, how about you?
I mean, there's just the constant, there's judgment constantly. Whether it's, the changing body there's judgment around that. Uh, Trying new things, I've got one, like my notary business has been slowing down, so it's been like, what's the next step? And there's that inner critic in there that's definitely resurfacing. That's like, you're not going to figure this out. Like you're not smart enough or quick enough or witty enough um, so that is all very much so. Like you said, like I thought I had this kind of like under control, and it's like a vine that just kind of keeps sprouting out, and you're like, oh, I just need to tend to that a little bit.
Mhm.
And then something that I am not doing anymore, I'm not listening to it as much. But I don't know that I have a hard, like, I'm not doing that anymore. I guess I'm not being as strict with my food anymore. I've realized somewhere along the way that I spent so much time and energy trying to be like healthy.
Mhm.
And at this point in life, I'm like, I'm not going to overthink all of the health stuff because I think I've done more damage than good. With so much focus on being healthy throughout most of my life because that was the messaging and what I was taught as a little kid,
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I had potato chips for breakfast because I was like, I don't care. I'm gonna finish
right.
these potato chips.
Like I never would have bought like a Coke, like a whole, like a real Coke. And now my boyfriend and I, like every couple nights we'll share a Coke. And I'm like, I don't care. It's good. It's so good. It makes me so happy. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think that one of the things that I am have started to think is like, and I have to be strict because I have food allergies, but I love this. Charlotte says, "Give me the chocolate, please." Christine says, "I'm eating chocolate chips right now for lunch." Fantastic. Yes. Yes. But I also am like, I just want to enjoy my life. My life
Yeah.
is so finite. I only get this one life. I want to enjoy
Mhm.
it. And like beating myself up did not work for the first 48 years. So why am I going to do it now? I think I just
Yeah.
releasing some of that because you can be healthy, but you can also give yourself some grace and be like, I'm going to have a Coke tonight.
or
Yeah.
chocolate, or like
Chocolate.
there's all sorts of things that I think if it's causing more stress than good, like you can do just as much damage, by worrying
Mhm.
about it, about just eating it and enjoying it. I think I'm pretty sure there's some science behind that. I'm going to believe there's some science behind that.
Yes, I think that's a new article, Betsy.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll work on that one. I'll work on that one.
I'm kind of with ice cream. I don't know, I'm in upstate New York and there's this store called Stewart's and
Mhm.
they sell like gas and it's like a little, I don't know, gas station store. Anyway, they have ice cream and they have all these amazing flavors. And currently they have this caramel cookie dough. Oh my God. I have no self-control. And I also said, you know what? I don't care. I'm going to sit and I'm
Mhm.
going to eat it and I'm going to enjoy and I'll get 2 scoops instead of one if I want to. So that I am definitely doing, like, because I'm going to eat the caramel. If it's there, I'm eating it. Yeah, their ice cream, they also have a salted caramel gelato.
Ooh.
That I have to stop myself from buying because like I will sit and eat the whole pint in one sitting, no problem. Yeah. I hide it in the back of the freezer so my family doesn't get it. Cause like nothing sends me to a rage like wanting my ice cream and going in there and be like, oh, who ate it? Which one of you ate it? And it gets me crazy. So yeah, I started to hide it to kind of avoid that from happening.
I love
But
it.
yeah, ice cream.
Yeah. So I have been identifying, we're going to move into a little bit of human design now. And I've been identifying the parts of human design that I know are related to self love. Excuse me. So, in traditional human design, this is not part of the traditional human design teachings, but I've been looking at like what are the areas that are related to our relationships with ourselves and not necessarily like gate 10 in human design that's about self-love. And we know that there's other parts of the chart that come up. And I want to be clear that this is not part of the traditional human design teachings. This is my own interpretation that I've been working through this summer. And so I want to know how these come up for you in your life, because one of the things I love is like, how can we use human design in a practical way in our real lives, not this theoretical, like, you're a manifester and here's what you are, like, this is what a manifester should be. Like, no, I don't care about that. I want to know, like, how it's showing up for real people. So, Helena, I'm going to start with you because you're the first one on my list. So I'm going to read you how the inner critic shows up, and then I would love to know like how you're sort of reframing it. Um, and this one is about the challenges about hiding your gifts and who do I think I am? I'm not creative enough. No one wants to hear what I have to say. I'd rather stay small than be criticized, and someone else can do it better. How has that shown up in your life? And then how have you reframed it, or are you starting to reframe it?
I'm starting to reframe it. That has shown up anytime I tried to do something that was not what was expected of me. Um, you know, wanting to write a book or wanting to do something other than pharmacy. Like it has been very challenging to, avoid the critic. But it's held me back and I have to start to reframe it or I'm not going to get anywhere. I mean, like I started a Substack like a couple of months ago and like I've yet to post an article. Like they're there in my brain. I have ideas. They're just, I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to keep them right here. And that's not serving me at all. So I'm working on doing the reframe. It's really hard for me though. It does not come naturally. Like I immediately kind of default to the, oh, who do you think you are kind of voice. And it's hard to get rid of that. I'd
Mhm.
love some tips. Yeah.
Great. I have things coming at the end of August. I'll share with you.
Awesome.
So for Betsy, one of yours is the challenge, or the inner critic shows up as, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what direction I'm taking. I'm afraid I'll pick the wrong direction. And I need another opinion because I don't trust myself. How has that shown up for you? And how are you reframing it or starting to reframe it?
That rings so true on so many levels. As you said that, I was like, oh, yep, yep, and yep. Like, if you
Mm,
read that from my human design, that is incredibly accurate. Um, I mean, I don't, part of it feels like, oh, sorry, my mind is going, I'm like thinking about the 1-3, which is where I also see some of that, right? Like wanting to understand things and then also wanting, or like just trying new things and then learning from that. Um, but I do love to have somebody else's opinion and ask for not totally just trusting my own. Uh, how am I reframing that? That is a work in progress for sure.
mm,
Um, I don't feel like I'm asking so much for somebody else's like opinion or permission. Um, but there definitely is a lot of, yeah, just having to be very aware of that and trusting myself, which is, like you said, like, I don't think I'm ever going to arrive there. That is just the challenge.
mhm. Yeah, I have this one too, and when I read that, I was like, I when I started to work through it, I was like, "Oh, yeah, I know this one all too well." Like, there's
Yeah.
a part of
And
you
I
that's
don't have it
like,
figured out.
"Oh, I don't know," and it's like, it's a work in progress. We're all works in progress.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Helena, I'm gonna go to you. This one actually is the self-love gate, but when the inner critic shows up, for those of you who know human design, this is gate 10. This one is what traditional human design says, is this is the gate of self-love. But the inner critic, the way it shows up is, if I were different, I'd finally be enough. I'm too much, or I'm not enough, or why can't I just be like everyone else, or I don't fit in. So how is that one shown up for you? And how is that reframe, if it's being reframed, or is it just a ongoing thing?
It's an ongoing thing. Kind of finding myself thinking like, well, why can't I be more confident and why can't I be more adventurous and risk taking? And it's always something that's on my mind,
Mhm.
sort of. And there's also the like, once I get this done, then I'll be content. And then it's like this done. And like, and I feel like I'm never content with what I think I want. Like with pharmacy, I, had told myself, oh, I just gotta get through school, get the degree. And, I didn't want to do the residencies that everyone else was doing. But then I'm like, oh, am I like not as good of a clinician? And it's shown up in different ways throughout my life.
Mhm. I have this one too. Do you feel like you've lived a life of, when I get to that point, I'll be
Yes.
happy and things will be great. And then it's like the oasis in the desert. Like, you keep seeing it, but you never get to it. Do you feel like that shown up for you?
A little bit, yeah. I keep thinking like, oh, well, once I am doing something different, I'll feel better. But I find that I look back and there's all these years that I've wasted like searching for something that never came. And that recently kind of started to freak me out because I don't want to be like I've heard the analogy of like being, I don't know, 80 years old, sitting in your rocking chair and like regretting things. Like I don't want to have that happen. So it's something that I need to work on for sure
Mhm.
and kind of do a reframe. Yeah.
So, Betsy, the next one is for you, and this one shows up, in these, like, mental loops we have, and so for you, the inner critic might say, like, "Why can't I stop thinking about this? I'm overthinking everything. I should have had this figured out by now. What have I missed something? Why can't I let this go?" Has that shown up for you? And how is the reframe going? And if this one is, I feel like, an ongoing part of life.
Yeah, like this, it's my, I mean, I can tell you that when I learned about human design, I was like, oh, yep, it totally speaks to me and describes me how I have a very busy mind and I have not learned to totally master it at all.
Mhm.
I'm working on it. It's a constant, but it's a constant. It's just, um, yeah, and trying to notice when it's not busy. I guess that's the reframe is trying to focus a little bit more on when it's not as busy and trying to do more of those things.
Mhm.
Because otherwise it's just, I mean, I just got back from a trip with family and I just spent the past 24 hours replaying conversations that I wish had gone different ways, like, and just spinning in them.
Yeah, that's a
Uh,
I go ahead. I was gonna say
well,
that
I
I
was saying
totally
it's
understand.
interesting. Yeah, I don't think I'm alone in it.
Mm-mm.
Um,
Mm-mm.
I was just going to say that, Helena, I think it's really interesting. For me, I have not chosen a path, where it's like, I'm going to go to school for this and then follow through on that. And looking from the outside, I'm always like, oh, those people have it so together, like they have it figured out and they have found a path and they're on it and they're like doing the thing. Um, and it's so interesting to hear somebody who's taken that path and still feels seemingly as unsettled as I feel in my path that's been
Yeah.
meandering all over the place and wondering why I haven't been able to find the path. And then I found that I'm a 1-3, and then it all started to make a little more sense and I have a little more peace in it. Um,
Yeah.
but I don't know how much yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Mhm.
Yeah. I wanted to be a creative writing teacher when I was growing up. That's what I
Mm.
really, really wanted to do. Instead, I became a pharmacist. Um, and there are aspects of it that I like. I do enjoy healthcare, but creatively, it is not at all satisfying. And for a long time, I just dealt with it. And now I'm at the point where, like, I don't want to do something that sucks the soul out of me every day. I don't want to do it.
Mhm.
And yeah, I definitely don't have it. I don't think I've ever really had it figured out or together. Or I don't know. I don't think I
It's so
have.
funny because that's the image I have of so many people because I don't, how we like look at other people and
Yeah.
it's not a comparison. It's more just like, wow, like how come? Yeah, I feel like I've heard your story a little bit, Erica, about like the librarian path and like, yeah, you had a path. And I guess a lot of women in midlife are finding out that those paths maybe weren't as fulfilling as they thought they were going to be and then end up shifting gears.
Yeah, the librarian was like my third career. I
Mm,
have a social work degree, tried that for a year, hated it. I got a computer science degree, and then I was a programmer and software tester for 5 years. Sucked
wow.
the soul out of me in corporate, and then I was like, "I'm never going to work in corporate again," so I became a librarian. I started to volunteer and work and then got a job at the library, and I was like, "Okay, I wanna be a librarian, and I wanna be a children's librarian because that was, like, what I those were my people, and I was like, "Well, they like their job, I'll like mine," and I loved it,
Hmm.
like, the first 6 months, and then I jumped from job to job because I was like, "What am I missing? Why can't I figure this out?" Not realizing that, like, I did what I thought I call it the should path, like, I got the degree, I
Mhm.
should like my job, and so I went and did it, and I never stayed at a job more than 5 or 6 years because I just was like something was missing, and
Yeah.
when I finally got the sort of download calling to that that was all wrong, and then started to that's around the time I found human design, I was burned out, and now I'm doing this, and I'm, like, figuring it out as I go. This is really my 4th career, and I remember my parents having a friend who, like, left corporate when he was about 50, and I was like, "That's crazy. How could you do that?" And now here I am, and I'm 52, and I'm like, "Yes, I'm doing it." Like, so when I hear somebody say, I'm thinking of leaving corporate, or I'm thinking of changing jobs, or I'm thinking of going back to school, I'm like, do it. Do it.
Yeah.
We don't, we spend so much time trying to make other people happy and doing what they think we should do and what we think we should do, as opposed to like, what the heck do I really want to do in my life?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's a hard question for a lot of us, you know, like what is it that I actually want versus all the shoulds and all the programming and all the, yeah.
It's so scary because we've never been asked what we want. We've never been asked, because when we're so conditioned to what we think we like. I see videos now of, women who are, I feel like there's a lot of influencers, and I see these things coming up, and I'm like, they are just doing what they are being told they should do. And they're going to be their 20s now, and they're going to get to their 40s, and they're going to be angry and regretful. And, we know that perimenopause brings up a lot, and there's a reason that the divorce rate is so high for women in their 40s. Is they're like, I'm done. So
Yeah.
anyway, stepping off my own soapbox. So tell us what you're both working on right now. If you're working on something on Substack or outside of Substack, I want to know what you're working on, and then I'll have one final question for you. So Betsy, let's start with you.
Let's see. I am working on creating spaces for women to exhale. I've started doing a little bit of body work because I wanted an in-person. I've spent the past 2 years taking kind of online and coaching courses, and there's a piece of just the human contact that I feel is really important. And so, yeah, I have a separate little building that is almost finished, that then my office can move out of my living room in my little apartment. I own the property, but my apartment is small. So to have my office out of my living room is going to be awesome. And it'll have a table in there and then a space for gatherings. So I can do some stuff locally. I have an Airbnb in my downstairs unit. So the end goal would be to have little mini retreats and have ladies come here. So.
Oh, wow. Okay. Now
Sounds lovely.
tell us where we
And
can
I live in
open
a
up.
really spectacular place. I live in Bishop, California, which is in the Eastern Sierra. And so there's, 12 and 13,000 foot peaks on either side of the valley that I live in. So yeah, it's a pretty special place. So I'm excited to share with folks at some point.
Well, keep us informed, please. Yeah. So, Helena, what are you working on right now, if anything? I know your Substack is in its infancy.
Yes, it's been in its infancy. I've decided, after years of leaving my house and going somewhere, that I want to work from home, and I want to take the parts of pharmacy that like I really enjoyed, which was helping people through something, like, showing them how to use their insulin pen or explaining something in a way that's less scary. And I want to I want to help women navigate menopause, midlife, even though I don't know what I'm doing. And sort of the health aspect of it, like, symptoms and, going through their meds with them and explaining lab work and things like that I enjoyed doing when I was in pharmacy, like helping people understand things better and helping them feel more at ease and like they can trust what they're feeling and thinking, kind of like a self-trust type thing, but with like a health edge to it. That's what I would like to be doing. Something I'm still trying to define, like what exactly it is, because I don't know how to give it a title. I don't know, like a coach of some sort or guide or whatever. But I'd like to use my creative writing and my health background somehow and kind of tie it all together.
Ooh.
And help people. And
Sounds
human
really
design,
cool.
which I'm still learning.
Yeah. I was like, you could do a whole lot with that.
Yeah, I've been kind of doing a lot of brainstorming. to figure
Mm.
out what exactly it's going to look like. Because I have family members that are like, wait a minute, you have a doctorate, you're stepping away from pharmacy, like, and it's like, yeah, yeah, because I'm miserable, so I'm doing something different, and then I get a little shy about it, like when I try to explain it and define it, and that I'm like, what am I doing? And it freaks me out.
Mhm.
So it's very much a work in progress, but I'd love to work with women kind of one-on-one and just help them, I don't know, understand their health and themselves and see themselves better. That's what
Mhm.
I would like to do.
Mm. Oh, that
It's
sounds so
also
good.
connected.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, my final question for both of you is one I've asked all of my podcast guests, my Substack guests, and it's a question that I posed to myself back in November, and I love the answers that come from this question. In fact, I think I feel like there's going to be an article of like all of the everybody's responses to this question. So, I'll start with you, Helena. What is one unwritten rule of midlife you would like to rewrite?
Mm. That you should just kind of get through it because that's what our mothers and grandmothers did, that you should just suffer through it because it's natural, so therefore you should suffer. That I would like to rewrite that.
Mhm.
Um, and take away some of the shame that people feel when they're going to someone for help about it. That's what I'd like to rewrite.
Ooh, that's ooh, chills. Okay, love it. Betsy, how about
Thank you.
you? What's one unwritten rule of midlife you would like to rewrite?
One unwritten, this question made my head kind of spin. I was like, I don't even understand it. Like, one unwritten rule of midlife. Um, I don't have a good answer for this one.
Are there I feel like you've answered this in different ways, like that we should just, like Helena said, just deal with it. But also for me, it comes up as like, I feel like that it's not that there are so many things that come up in midlife for me that have come up, like my daughter saying, use your words, that like we are going crazy and we're going through a huge transformation. And also that for me, it's that you should just continue to follow the path and be happy
Yeah.
and just stop speaking up. Stay quiet, fade into the background. You're old. So that's those are a couple of mine.
I mean, I think that's this, like, just be quiet and keep going.
Mhm.
It, it doesn't work. And it's not, there's clearly women are not taking that anymore. There's so many people encouraging, all of us to use our voices and share our experiences. Yeah, I think this idea that as we get older, we're not useful, and not beautiful. I think both those are ones that I would rewrite.
Mm. Ooh, love those too. Oh my gosh. Chills for both of you.
I was
Well,
thinking that I feel like so many of us were conditioned to think that being selfless and putting ourselves at the bottom was like a badge of honor. So it's odd for us to step out and sort of take what we want because we're told that that was too much. And I think that I've noticed that a lot with like midlife and menopause and like, oh, you're complaining. No, I'm just expressing my needs kind of thing. And I would love if that changed for people. Like
mhm.
it wouldn't be like the butt of the, oh, she's, ooh, menopausal, like the butt of the joke kind of thing, and more of like, hey, what can we do to support these women and help them
Mm.
not feel as horrible as they might.
Mhm. Yeah, I also want to say that like I part of the tagline of my podcast is like, what if midlife is not a crisis? What if it's an invitation? And I think that Julie Ciardi changed my whole thinking on this.
Yeah.
That I thought I was going through a midlife crisis, but what I went through in burnout and all of that, like, completely changed my life. It brought me to human design. It has transformed me, but it also woke me up and was like, you have been staying too small for too long, and also being the cake pop. I was just going through life as a brain with a body, and now I've had to really stop and think and listen to my body and not just be in constant battle with it. When I got diagnosed with food allergies, it was like, another thing wrong with me. No, that was actually a real gift to wake me up and say, pay attention. So yeah, I love that, Helena. So I want to thank both of you for being part of the Summer of Self-Love. I love that you've shared your stories here and in the interviews that are going to be part of articles. The articles have not come as fast and furious as I had hoped, because I've been so consumed with trying to create what I was going to create by the end of August. But life is happening, and I just am slowing a little bit down because it's just, I don't want to rush things. So
Yeah.
And once we hit end, like, I don't get to thank you. I can send you a message, but I really want to thank you both for being part of this
Thank you.
project
Thank you for having me.
and being
really
on
appreciate
this
it.
live. I just it's become something so much bigger than I ever dreamed of, and I just am so grateful to you both for being part of this. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For having me.
Thank you. I've
Yeah.
loved being here, and I've loved watching what you're doing on Substack, and it's super inspiring. I love the
It is.
messaging. Yeah, I love the conversations. So thank you for having them, and thank you for having us here.
Well, thank you. And
Thank
to everyone
you.
who joined us live, thank you for joining us. And those of you who are watching on the replay, thank you so much. And we will talk to you. I'll be back next week with another conversation. And so I have 2 more weeks after this. And then I'm not going to call this Summer of Self-Love end to end. It's not going to end until, the official end of summer, because I try to hold on to it as much as possible. But yeah, but the end of the conversations will be, with the women that were part of the interviews, will end at the end of August. But I don't feel like these conversations are over. Like, I feel like this is starting a new thing that we need to be talking about. And it's lit a fire in me, because for the longest time I thought I was a decision mentor and I was helping women with decisions. And then I found out my North Node in my human design is all about self-love, which is the second half of my life. And this is what I'm supposed to be talking about. So, yeah. So thank you both. And I just,
you're so welcome. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Okay. Well, everyone, we'll see you later. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon.
Take care. Bye, Betsy. Nice to meet you.
Bye. Nice to meet you.